Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions, they get their lawsuit against, oh man, you know, OOOH, Al Haymon, another Hitler, or as the Golden Boy correspondent will say in the emails, Black Hitler, the N-word. And in the hip-hop world, what we say is Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy, they call it L. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, the L that Golden Boy just took, actually there's been a couple recent. There's some different things going on with Golden Boy. Recently, TMZ reported and broke the story that Oscar De La Hoya, so the president of Golden Boy, he got caught up in a DUI. He got arrested and later released to his manager or whoever, and he got charged with a DUI. Not a good look, especially when they have ride sharing and Lyfts and Ubers, stuff like that. And also the Golden Boy emails, right? And I apologize. Some people wanted me to do a video. At the time when it first broke the story, I couldn't really trace the source. I was just hearing from it on Twitter and stuff like that. But then I've made myself familiar with the emails and stuff. So obviously the N-word emails were a big no-no and made people scratch their head like, what's up with this company, right? Even though it wasn't someone directly within Golden Boy that we know, it was still someone who's with Ring Magazine who was having a casual conversation. Like, for me, if I was talking to someone and then they were in the middle of it, they were just like saying the N-word or calling someone a Jew or other racial slurs, I'd be like, whoa, what was that? Like, chill, you know what I'm saying? And they were acting like this is normal, like banter and talk for them. So they had the N-word emails that were released or whatever to the public. And now Al Haymon wins the lawsuit. And the $300 million lawsuit against him and Premier Boxing Champs, it gets dismissed by the judge. And first of all, what they were charging Al Haymon for doing was pretty severe. You know what I mean? They're saying we're losing money because he's doing stuff like the Antitrust Act, the Ali Act, like basically criminal offenses in the boxing world. They're saying he was securing venues and like doing some like underhanded things to secure venues and block dates and stuff like that just to hurt their business. And it was pretty extreme. And a lot of you guys get mad when I say I told you so, but the proof is in the pudding. I made videos about all of this when the news first broke, because Top Rank and Golden Boy both filed lawsuits against Premier Boxing Champs for similar things. And you see the video on screen. Al Haymon blasted by $100 million Top Rank lawsuit. See, the thing with Bob Arum is he's been in the business of boxing since Muhammad Ali, rest in peace, the greatest. So he's very smart when it comes to business, and he's very cunning. He had the wherewithal to probably see where this was headed, and he didn't really have a sound case to the point where he could charge Al Haymon and Premier Boxing Champs for everything they were saying. So he settled his lawsuit with Haymon out of court, and there was maybe, I don't know the amounts or whatever, the payouts or whatnot, but his situation has already been resolved, and this was like in 2016, and they've actually since worked together, like, and they've discussed potential fights like, Broner fighting Pacquiao and things like that. So for what it's worth, Al Haymon and Arum have had conversations and maybe will work together and trying to work together and mend that relationship that was broken with the Cold War for so long. So Bob Arum was smart enough to pack it in and figure out a way to make amends with Premier Boxing Champions. And I knew that this was going to be a hard case to pin against Al Haymon. Reason being is, anytime you sue somebody, you have to prove what you're saying. If someone's saying this guy raped me or this person should be charged for first-degree murder, you have to prove that. You have to show conclusive evidence that is compelling enough to make people believe, hey, that is the murderer without a shadow of a doubt. That's why if you watch Forensic Files, one of my favorite shows, that's why they get the forensic pathologist and the microspectrometer and stuff like that and all these machines, because they want to show They got fibers. They got the person's skin particles and tissue under their fingernails when they were getting attacked and whatever. And they use that forensic evidence. So in the DNA and semen samples and stuff like that, because they can actually say, you know, within this sample, this DNA sample had to come from this person, basically. So there's no way around it. You know what I mean? There's like a millionth percentage that we're wrong or whatever. And that's the thing with the Al Haymon. Everything they're charging, the Ali Act, some pretty criminal offenses in the, like I said, in the business world, you have to prove that, right? And again, some of you guys hate when I say, oh, I told you, but I told you guys back then, the videos are still up. De La Hoya, Golden Boy suing Al Haymon, PBC impending lawsuit 1 year ago. De La Hoya, Golden Boy sues Haymon for $300 million 1 year ago. I made videos on all these topics, and I told you guys in those videos, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an attorney, I'm not Jacoby and Myers, I'm not legal counsel. I ain't passed the bar, but I know a little bit, enough that you want to legally search my shit. Y'all know about that Jay-Z, that Hova. And I told you guys, I'm not a lawyer, but I know the burden of proving something falls on the person who's accusing them, generally. You know what I mean? You have to prove your claims, receipts, witness testimony. And the thing about it is, Haymon's been a businessman. He was in the music industry well before he took over boxing, right? So he's like an educated, smart, business savvy person. You look at what Floyd Mayweather was able to do once he left Top Rank and got with Al Haymon as his kind of like mentor and friend or whatever their relationship is. And you don't make the amount of money that Floyd made in boxing without having the right team. And Floyd always credited, you notice that he'd be like, what can I say? I made some smart investments. Al Haymon, I got the right team. And he always tells you this. So clearly that was the best move that he could have made, and he's seen figures that he probably wouldn't have seen with Top Rank. I in fact know he wouldn't have seen it with Top Rank because he wasn't seeing no money like he got versus Pacquiao, or 32 million guaranteed to fight the likes of Guerrero and Maidana. He didn't see those types of paydays, and he's always been a good fighter. He didn't see that with Top Rank. So that being said, we know Al Haymon is educated and he's smart. So again, having Golden Boy and Top Rank having these lawsuits, and you have the burden of proving everything. How do you prove that he's blocking venues, right? Because if somebody, just on some street stuff, if somebody's doing dirt, like let's say they're corrupt cops and they're being paid out by the mafia or something to let them slide or not arrest certain people or whatever. If they're part of it, then they're not going to testify against, like, hey, yeah, we are getting paid under the table to cheat the system or to do dirt. You know what I'm saying? So Golden Boy saying that he's blocking venues, if that was the case, then how are you going to prove that? You're going to get the StubHub Center, you're going to get the president of the StubHub or something to say, hey, you know what? Al Haymon slid us his money and we blocked that date for him. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to really, unless there's like an ex-employee or something. That stuff like that is very hard to prove. Same thing with the Ali Act. Very hard to prove what you're claiming. You know what I mean? They were saying that Al Haymon's working as an actual promoter, which is you're not supposed to do. You can't be the advisor and the promoter, right? But once again, he has Lou DiBella. Now he works with Richard Schaefer to put on the fight that I'm at right now this week. Leo Santa Cruz, Carl Frampton Part 2. That's a Ringstar Sports, Ringstar Promotions is hosting that. And Richard Schaefer, he used to work for Golden Boy. He's the former CEO of Golden Boy. Now, after he served his non-compete clause with Golden Boy, because he couldn't immediately enter after he left and resigned from Golden Boy, he couldn't immediately enter the same field and become competition. But he waited the 2 years or whatever, and now he's back in the game. He put on his first card, the Julian J. Rock Williams, Jamal Charlo, Jesus Cuellar versus Abner Matas doubleheader in LA. Now he's already back in Vegas putting on another massive card. Frampton, you got Mikey Garcia, you got Leo Santa Cruz. First fight was the fight of the year. So once again, how can Golden Boy prove that Al Haymon is doing more than the advisor role when he at least has fall guys? He at least can say, nah, Lou DiBella put that fight on for me. The Wilder fight, that's Lou DiBella. He's doing that. Or this small promoter, or Luis de Cubas. He put on that Edeslani Lara Miami card, right? I didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? So how can you prove that? You know what I'm saying? It's really weird that Golden Boy was motioning to do this. And like I said, Golden Boy's taken a lot of recent L's. Like the good news for Golden Boy is they signed a multi-fight deal that lasts for 2 years, 2017, 2018 with ESPN. But the problem is Al Haymon is smoking them when it comes to his stable, and he's smoking them in terms of the compelling fights. Yes, the ESPN deal is good, but ESPN has showed time and time again they could be heavily biased and they're not fully vested into boxing, right? Some people actually don't even respect ESPN, their boxing. You know what I mean? They occasionally check the news and stuff like that, but it is what it is because they do stupid stuff. Like Floyd Mayweather beats Pacquiao after 5 years of debate, and Ronda Rousey that year beats him. Floyd had won for consecutive years, and that year he beat Pacquiao. ESPN, there was a lot of journalists that worked for ESPN that said that, oh, this was the worst fight in boxing history and it's underwhelming, and they did everything to trash it. And then coincidentally, Floyd, for the first time in a while, loses Fighter of the Year, and he loses to a female, which is not a problem if the female is deserving. I'd rather see Clarissa Shields or something get it for being a 2-time gold medalist, but you gave it to Ronda Rousey, and the only person she had beat up to that point was Betch Correa. You also had people, males like Donald Cowboy Cerrone on the list, and he had fought multiple times in the UFC. You had Gennady Golovkin, who was knocking everybody out up to that point. You had Terrence Crawford, heavily skilled. And Ronda Rousey beat all these people, and ESPN still gave her the Fight of the Year. And subsequently, that same year, Ronda Rousey got knocked out herself in November or whatever when she fought Holly Holm. So a lot of people, they don't really turn to ESPN. And you looking at the Golden Boy stable, what fighters are they going to put? You know what I mean? Because Curtis Stevens, David Lemieux, that would have been a great first fight to put on an ESPN card. But they're putting this on HBO, Boxing After Dark. And this is happening in March, and they kick off the ESPN deal March 23rd. So why couldn't they put this fight on? Because the logistics probably didn't make sense. The salaries that these guys are getting, it probably didn't make sense. So they had to put it on HBO and pay the licensing fee and stuff like that. So even though they have the ESPN deal, I'm very anxious to see what Golden Boy can produce. Like what events? Is it just going to be like the LA Friday night fights? You know what I mean? Or is it going to have like good names, you know what I mean, that people really know and they're going to get people down? And I don't know. That's just kind of what it is. They lost the lawsuit, $300 million. That's definitely another L. Bernard Hopkins, he got knocked out of the ring. You know what I'm saying? So he's no longer fighting. So Golden Boy, they got to bounce back, right? Their biggest star, Canelo Alvarez, is being criticized for moving up to 164.5 for Chavez Jr., but not for Golovkin. People want to still see the Golovkin fight. So Golden Boy, they got to almost do some restructuring. They tried to go at Al Haymon, and it failed basically. And the other thing is, like, I'm not the smartest brother in the world, but these lawsuits, they also take money. So you actually, especially if you don't get what you intended to get, 300 million, or even, it's not like they dismissed the case. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he got 125 million and he was requesting 300, right? You got nothing. You got your case thrown out, and they're like, no, you know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, Al Haymon, he's smart, because he's putting Frampton, Santa Cruz. We just had Jack DeGale, which was a good card, teamed up with Mayweather Promotions. You have Broner Granados, you have Robert Easter, you have Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, one of the best fights this particular year. And it's just like they've been non-stop. Haymon is really shutting stuff down. Their December was good. They had, like I said, Richard Schaefer's entrance back into the game. That was Jamal Charlo, Julian J. Rock Williams. I haven't even had time to make a video because I'm traveling and stuff, but this fight was just announced. You got Jared Swift Hurd. He's fighting against Tony, what's his name? The one that Willie Nelson fought. Tony Harrison. I had a brain freeze. And then they also have Dominic Brazil. He was fighting Spilka, but he got, that opponent got replaced, and he's fighting. You know what I mean? And they're putting together all these different cards, and it's like, it's very hard to compete with, because Some of them are the big blockbuster. Another one, check the website because I can't even keep up with this. Lamont Peterson, he's fighting Keith Thurman's mandatory. David, I forgot how to pronounce. Avanesian, yeah, David Avanesian. The winner might get Garcia, Thurman winner. Then they also put Thomas Top Dog Williams. He's fighting against Olympian Marcus Brown. You know what I mean? Haymon is just doing his thing. You have Dehans Latisinen. He's fighting Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia is a fan favorite. They're definitely doing their thing. A lot of great fights with PBC. And then Golden Boy just lost some of their resources trying to sue him and coming up short because they didn't win the lawsuit. They got a lot of talent. So let me know how you think Golden Boy bounces back from this. But I knew there was going to be problems with the Golden Boy lawsuit to Al Haymon initially. And like I said, you guys can check those videos. You have the burden of proof. But aside from that, is a couple months after the lawsuits were like already in proceedings, they dropped off portions of the lawsuit. Like they were trying to initially sue Al Haymon and his investors, Waddell and Reed, and then those investors were dropped off. Their names were taken off, and then they had to do some modifications to the particular the lawsuit, and that's not a good sign because if your lawsuit perfectly spells out what you intend to do, you don't really have to make any adjustments. Like it's everything what you want to say and declare. You're not going to have to make too many modifications, at least to my understanding. And like I said, Al Haymon, he's using DeBella, he's using Richard Schaefer, and they're putting on all these fights, premier boxing champs. So let me know what you guys think of Golden Boy. What is the next move? But it's definitely not with the N-word emails, Oscar De La Hoya getting a DUI, and then now losing the $300 million lawsuit that you had after a year in the courts. I don't know. I just don't see that being a good look for De La Hoya's company. And that was weird. But I'm also waiting for a response from Golden Boy as far as the employee who put the N-word emails. What are they planning to do? Is he keeps his job or what? I'd like to see a public statement from Golden Boy regarding those emails that were leaked. Your court case is over now. You already lost it. So I don't know if they ever used those in the lawsuit, but apparently it didn't matter because the judge threw the case out. And like I told you guys, it was going to be hard. It's always an uphill battle to actually prove what you're suggesting that Al Haymon was doing, right? And it sounds like, how can you, Al Haymon's side is basically saying, how can you sue us because your business is suffering when we're working hard to sculpt and mold our fighters, give them opportunities? It doesn't make sense. Like, if anybody, even though Al Haymon's not a promoter, it looks like he's taking care of his people. I can compile a video of fighters within PBC, and I've asked him that. I said, hey, Andre Berto, what do you think of PBC? Thomas Top Dog Williams, what do you think of PBC? And the list goes on and on. And even today at the Carl Frampton Leo Santa Cruz, Richard Schaefer thanked Al Haymon. You had Barry McGuigan, who is with Frampton, and he was like, Al Haymon, he gets a lot of slack, but the man is a genius. And you see the PBC taking off, putting together the best fights. And the only people who are really complaining are people who are like racist in the comment section, and they just don't want to see him do good. But I don't understand if he's bringing more boxing to you and to the forefront and on prime time, like Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman on free TV. But we got to pay for Kodo Kirkland on HBO pay-per-view. I mean, there's really no complaint. Everything that they condemn Al Haymon for, you're looking dumb. How can you justify Kodo Kirkland, two guys that Oscar's fighter, Canelo, I was born ready, just beat in their last fight? They've been on long layoffs, but they're fighting on pay-per-view, right? And then we're getting Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, a much anticipated fight where somebody's gotta go, and that's on free TV on CBS, the home or the parent company of Showtime. I mean, you just can't. It sounds like I said, the only people that are really mad are the racist people in the comment section, people who are tribal, and they just, I only like Oscar, or I only like Golden Boy. Not like I care what happens to the sport of boxing, because I clearly can't see how PBC is ruining boxing. They were saying Al Haymon's the cancer, he ruined boxing. And then the other people that would be mad are competitors who are forced to do stuff that is different. And the funny thing, one of the funniest things is you claim that Al Haymon, like you look at the N-word emails from the Golden Boy or Ring magazine writer or whatever, editor, and they said, oh, he just wrecked Leo Santa Cruz Abnamatis' career. But I just was at the press conference, and Leo Santa Cruz, and I could play it at the end of this video, he just thanked Al Haymon. He was like, oh, Al Haymon, he just did so much for me, and without them and the Watsons, I would be nothing. And he named his son Al after Al Haymon. So again, like I said, it was always an uphill battle for Golden Boy, because you have the burden of proving it. And how can you prove it that Al Haymon's anti-Ali act and all this, when the fighters are saying, oh, I'm naming my son after Al. I love Al. You know what I mean? He definitely helped me. You know, it doesn't make sense to me, right? When the fighters I talked to Errol Spence Jr. He said, well, what are the fighters saying? It'd be one thing if the fighters were complaining. Okay, then it's not the fighters. They're not complaining. You know what I mean? So it tells you where it's coming from. It's because you're in competition, and it's probably hurting your business of what he's doing. And the funny thing is, a lot of people hate Al Haymon that are competitors, but they've copied little things he did. When did Top Rank put fights on True TV, on more of a free type of network that's not premium like HBO or Showtime? After Al Haymon. You know what I mean? Golden Boy did this deal with ESPN after Al Haymon, when Al Haymon was bringing stuff back to regular basic cable packages, CBS, Fox, things like that. You know what I mean? Just big major networks, not just Fox Sports 1, right? And you know what I mean? People hating Al Haymon, but they almost biting the swag of Al Haymon. And again, like the fighters, like Errol Spence told me, the fighters aren't the ones complaining. So what are you talking about? Leo Santa Cruz just said today, literally today, I was at the final press conference. He said, oh, thank you to Al Haymon, and he's done great for me, and I wouldn't be where I'm at. So whoever wrote that email with the N-word, what do you mean Abnamatis and Leo Santa Cruz's career got wrecked through Al Haymon? In fact, it's actually the opposite. When he was with Golden Boy, people were down Leo Santa Cruz's throat for not stepping up and fighting a Guillermo Rigondeaux. But since that point, he fought against Carl Frampton, and it was a Fight of the Year contender, and he became a champion. And he fought Abnamatis after he disassociated with Golden Boy. And that was another big LA fight that people liked and enjoyed at the Staples Center. And now he's about to fight Frampton this weekend again. Abnamatis just fought Jesus Cuellar, and a lot of people thought Matis was going to get knocked out, and he boxed well, and he ended up knocking down the puncher in Cuellar and took his belt. So how can the person, whoever wrote the email, say, oh yeah, Al Haymon wrecked their careers? What are you talking about? They're getting more fanfare, and their name's not on the chopping block right now. You know what I mean? Some people are like, I know that they both ducked Guillermo Rigondeaux, but they've been ducking him even when they were with Golden Boy. So that's either out the window, but what they've done beyond that has been respectable. So they're not really on the chopping block like Canelo or whoever else is on the chopping block. So that's my thoughts. Golden Boy loses the lawsuit. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.
Good afternoon, muy buenas tardes a todos. Les quiero decir nomás que estoy muy contento. Le quiero primero, antes de nada, dar las gracias a Diosito. I want to thank God. I want to thank the best manager out there. My manager Al Haymon, and I want to thank Richard Schaefer for introducing me to him. If he would have never introduced him to me, I think I would have never been here where I'm at right now, because he helped me get to this point. And I also want to thank the whole Haymon team, the brother Marcus and Sam and Brandon. Thank you. I want to thank Sylvia, Brad, and all the Haymon team. Andy, and I'm just very happy with all the whole team. I wouldn't be here. I also want to